Manchester City have signed Uzbekistan international Abdukodir Khusanov for £33.5 million from RC Lens in League 1. And today I'm going to be telling you why I think he is the future of the Manchester City backline and has the potential to become one of, if not the best defender in the Premier League in the coming years. But before we even get into today's video, please do like the video if you are excited to see Khusanov play in the Premier League, and also comment your thoughts on this transfer and how you think he'll do in a Manchester City shirt. And obviously subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. The goal is to reach 1,000 subscribers before April, and I think that's a very achievable goal. But with all that being said, let's get into today's video as why I think Khusanov could be one of the best players in the Premier League in the next few seasons. So some of you may be wondering, who is Abdukodir Khusanov? Well, he's a 20-year-old centre-back and Uzbekistan international who has played 13 times in League 1 this season for RC Lens. And he also played 2 games in the Champions League last season for Lens, with the most notable being a 6-0 loss to Arsenal. And despite being a very young player, obviously only being 20 years old, which is very young for a centre-back, you don't really see many young centre-backs playing at the top level. He's a very strong player, he's very strong, and he puts defending first and foremost above everything, which is very important, and it's a very overlooked thing in football nowadays, with obviously most teams preferring to have a defender that's, you know, primarily good with their feet, and then having defending be like a backup sort of factor when looking for new centre-backs, because every team likes to play out from the back, and to play out from the back you need a goalkeeper that's good with their feet and centre-backs that are good with their feet. But Khusanov is someone that puts defending first. He's always diving into tackles, he's always engaging with the attackers, and obviously that's a very important trait to have, because a defender, a centre-back, his main goal is to defend and stop his team from conceding. And if I was to say he's similar to any player at the moment, it would actually be a Manchester City player. It'd be Ruben Diaz. I think he has a load of similarities to Ruben Diaz, and he sort of plays that same sort of role where you see Diaz, if you watch Manchester City, he will put his body on the line, always jumping in front of shots, always putting in tackles, you know, doing anything he can to stop his team from defending. And yes, Diaz might not be the best player on the ball, might not be the best defender on the ball, especially when it comes to Manchester City. I'd probably say Vardiol, Stones and Akanji are all better than him. I'd probably say he's probably the worst City defender on the ball, potentially. Maybe Walker. Walker's passing isn't great, but you know, he's in the bottom 2 for City defenders when it comes to being on the ball. But for doing his actual job, which is defending, I'd say Diaz is probably Manchester City's best defender and most important defender. And to have somebody that plays a very similar role to him come to Manchester City would be very, very exciting. So we'll start with something that I've already stated previously, which is, other than Ruben Diaz at the moment, City don't have a centre-back that is renowned for their defensive ability, and their main attribute being their defensive ability. You look at Vardiol, obviously he plays left-back, but he's more known for going forward, what he can do on the ball, and even his goal threat ability, which is a bit weird when you're talking about someone that plays centre-back and left-back. And then you look at Akanji, who's also known for what he can do on the ball, his passing range, his movement. You know, he's not really known for his defending. I'd probably say the same with Stones. Stones is known for being able to play in the midfield, in the back line, at right back, being very versatile, being good on the ball, being able to drive with the ball and being a commanding presence. But he's not really known for his defending. I'd probably say Ake is the second best defensive defender that City have at the moment. And you'll see with the form that City have been in recently, obviously with that slump we found ourselves in, you were seeing individual mistakes from Akanji, from Vardiol, even a few from Diaz were creeping in there, and it's because we don't have out-and-out defenders. It's not something we have. Obviously, when you go back to when we won the treble, if you look at the back line we played with Stones, Akanji, Diaz, and Ake. We played with a back line like that because it was just strong, it was stable, it was our best defensive lineup. But obviously all of those players are still at the club. The only centre-back that's not still at the club that won the treble was obviously Aymeric Laporte, who again wasn't the best defensively but was excellent on the ball and had one of the best long passes I've seen from a defender. But when you look at the back line, again, like I said, the second best defensive centre-back City have is Ake, and unfortunately, he is very injury-prone, which is very unfortunate because I think Ake is a really good player. Again, like Vardiol, can play left-back, can play centre-back, but he finds himself injured quite often, and the same with John Stones. You rarely see Stones and Ake play together anymore because they're always injured. I think in the last 2 games I've watched John Stones play, he's been subbed off at halftime with a new injury, which sidelines him for the next few games. Obviously, Akanji, Ake even has went off injured a few times this season. That takes 2 of our centre-back options out, which means we're then only left with Akanji and Diaz, who have played most of the season. And then when one of those is missing a game, we've had to have the inexperienced Simpsons Poussey in there, which wasn't good for anyone. It wasn't good for him because he was being thrown into the squad when we were at our worst possible point in form. So it knocks his confidence because he's losing games. He's conceding a high amount of goals, and it maybe makes him think that he's not good enough to play in this team, which I don't think is the case. I don't think he was good enough to play in the team at that current point, but nobody was really in current form good enough to play for that team. So bringing in a defender like Khusanov, who just knows how to defend, likes to defend, is very, very important for City to get some defensive stability back into the squad. Because if you play with just, I don't know, probably Rico Lewis will be the right back, obviously, with Walker saying that he wants to leave the club and will probably leave the club this month, and if not, he will be gone in the summer. You'll have Rico Lewis at right back, very good on the ball, very technical player, not very good at defending. You'll have Vardio at left back. Again, he's an okay defender, but he's more known for going up the pitch, his technical ability, and everything he can do going forward. And then if you just have Diaz and Khusanov at centre-back there just to hold the line, block the shots, keep the goal safe, keep the back line secure and stop us leaking goals, especially when our attackers are not in the best form. Like I've said on countless occasions, if Haaland doesn't score, City don't score. And with that being the case of the season, you need to have a strong back line. You need to have a steady, defensively solid back line. And bringing Khusanov in is another option to either play alongside Ruben Diaz, but more than likely be interchangeable with Ruben Diaz, meaning that we always have a defensively strong centre-back on the pitch is very, very important. But then if you're to compare Khusanov to City players this season, especially the defenders, he's played 13 games in the league. Ruben Diaz has also played 13 games, and the only player to play more league games this season is Akanji with 16 games. He's been the most consistent Manchester City starting defender, and again, I think he's probably the weakest defensively. He also tops all of the City defenders for tackles per 90 with 1.38, interceptions per 90 with 2.4, aerial duels per 90 with 2.58, and finally possession won in the defensive third with 2.77. And again, I will acknowledge that he is playing in a weaker league than the Premier League. Obviously, the Ligue 1 is respectively not as good as the Premier League, and I think everybody knows that. So again, these numbers may be slightly inflated when you see some of the attackers and some of the teams that City have had to come up against, but those aren't bad numbers. And if he can even get close to those numbers in a City team, then he would be exceptional. He would be exceptional. And again, I don't expect him to do that straight away. I expect his game time to be managed very, very well and him get eased into the squad to begin with. But I think we have the making of the next big thing at centre-back here. And City, in recent years, have not had strong centre-backs. Again, you look at Vincent Kompany, you look at Laporte, and you look at Diaz. There are the three that in the respective teams that they've played in, they were the three strong points, right? When City had Kompany, we looked like a far better team at the back. From 2018 to 2020, when we had Laporte at the back, we looked like a far better team. And now, when we have Diaz at the back, we look like a far better team defensively. Obviously, Stones is very integral to City, with his defensive ability as well, but also his ability on the ball. But again, unfortunately, it's not great for him in the injuries department. So having another defender to bring that next era of stability at the back for Manchester City is very, very important, and especially to have two defensively solid centre-backs at the same time is important, because again, like I said, we don't have much luck with centre-backs. Mangala, Di Michaelis, Otamendi, Eric Garcia, just to name a few that were extremely underwhelming defensively. Obviously, apart from Otamendi in the 17-18 season, where he was just exceptional. For no reason, he was just exceptional. But then again, everybody in that Centurions team, I firmly believe, was sensational. Even Fabian Delph was putting in world-class performances at left-back. It was a joke of a team. But Khusanov just has everything to become a top-level centre-back. You know, the ability to defend, and most importantly, the willingness to defend. He's happy to defend. He enjoys defending, and that is something you need in a defender. You know, it might sound stupid to say that out loud, but there are plenty of defenders you look at that clearly do not enjoy defending and are just footballers that weren't good enough to play anywhere else on the pitch, technically, so they play centre-back and have become a ball-playing centre-back or a full-back, right? So he's someone that enjoys defending, which is extremely important. You know, he's not bad on the ball, but I think if you were to refine those ball-playing abilities and get them even better, I think he's a perfect Pep centre-back. Perfect Pep centre-back. And then maybe, you know, willingness to defend can sometimes have its negative sort of connotations, I guess. You look at, we'll bring it back to Otamendi, who obviously used to play at Man City. He would just dive straight into a slide tackle. You're running at him. He doesn't know what jockeying means. He does not know what backing off means. You're running at him. Bam. He's straight in there. 9 times out of 10, he's missing that ball and you're blitzing past him. Prime example, 1920 season, you go watch the game against Wolves where Adama Traore scored a brace. The Wolves player approaches Otamendi. What does he do? Bam! Goes in for a slide tackle, misses the ball, leaves the defense wide open. So obviously, saying that he has a willingness to defend is good, but he's also quite disciplined. He knows when to go in for the tackle. He knows when to engage with a defender, and he also knows when to back off. And again, he might not make the right choice 100% of the time, but he's still young. He's still only 20. He's younger than me. Like, he's younger than I am. So he still has time to develop those skills and improve his decision making. And he'll just become one of the best. I honestly believe he will become one of the best centre-backs in the world, in the league. You know, one of the best. And I can't wait to see it happen. But again, with all that being said, please do let me know your thoughts on the transfer and on this video in the comments below. Like the video if you enjoyed and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if this is the first video on one you're watching, please do check out the rest of the videos on the channel. It might even further encourage you to subscribe because I've got some banging content on the channel, let's be honest. But with all that being said, I've been Nathan. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Shut down cases. They belly dots to the can't see faces. Chasing the bad guy chase it. You don't wanna be the one like Ace and like GTA trying to turn them out wasted. Aye, tell a bad bitch come break it. Body come mad, come shake it. Shit then, get back to the basics. Bro, done shut down cases. They belly dots to the